So before you guys start investing your capital into anything, whether it be the crypto market, stocks, or any other type of financial asset, you guys need to understand this key concept that I'm going to talk about in this video. All right. If you don't understand this concept, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to understand things and to see opportunities when they come to you. Okay. A lot of people are confused about what financial assets are and how they work. And I'm going to clear that up today, because if you don't understand this concept, it's going to be very, very hard to find opportunities for you. Okay. We're going to get into that concept today. But before I do, I'm going to first let you guys know that nothing in this video is financial advice. I'm not your financial counselor. I'm not your financial advisor. What you decide to do with your money is up to you, and you need to take responsibility for your buys and your sells. All right. Now, this concept is pretty simple, you guys. This concept is pretty simple. And that's that everything is a Ponzi. Right? Everything is a Ponzi. Everything is a Ponzi scheme. All right. Now, what do I mean by this? This is a little bit of a controversial take. I think a lot of people are going to say that they're going to disagree with me. They're going to give me pushback. And I've talked about this to a few other people. But it is true, you guys. All right. At the end of the day, and what do I mean by this? What do I mean by everything is a Ponzi? All right. A lot of people who don't understand crypto, and older people, boomers, etc., what they do is they claim that, as an example, Bitcoin, right, is a Ponzi scheme. Oh, it's a Ponzi. In order for you to make money, somebody else has to buy the asset. All right. That's essentially what they mean. So for you guys who don't know what a Ponzi scheme is that the earlier investors, it's a structured thing where earlier investors make money by people buying after them. And it's a rehypothecation. And then eventually once people run out of buyers, all right, once there's not any buyers anymore, then the entire scheme collapses because those people don't make money, right? And now, what people don't understand about this concept, you guys, is that everything is a Ponzi. All right? Everything is a Ponzi scheme. We could take this as far as and let's talk about this first too. This is preventing a lot of people from buying Bitcoin because that word's thrown around and it's being attached to Bitcoin, right? Or crypto, is that it's a Ponzi scheme. And then somebody else will be like, oh no, somebody told me that this is a Ponzi scheme, whatever, right? And I'm going to explain to you guys why everything is a Ponzi, all right? Everything, especially financial assets, are Ponzi's, all right? So we could take this as far as we want. We everything is a Ponzi to different degrees, all right? If something solves a problem, right? If something solves a problem, you guys, and actually does something, then the Ponzi is a lot better than other Ponzi's. Some Ponzi's are better than other Ponzi's, all right? Now, we could take this to the human population, number one, okay? The way that the population Ponzi of the world is that when people stop having kids, all right, when families stop having kids, the Ponzi ends. Because like I said with Social Security, I talked about this in previous videos, right? That if there aren't any new humans being born in order to fund the old humans' lifestyles, then that Ponzi ends, right? That's the first thing, right? The entire human population is a Ponzi scheme, okay? If there's no kids, if there's no younger kids, look at what happened in China with the one-child policy, right? They had a one-child policy. That means that the old people weren't getting replicated, all right? There weren't enough young people to be able to take care of all the old people and fund their lifestyles. And now look at China. China's in an economic recession, heading possibly into a depression right now, right? Because of that. There aren't enough young people, there aren't enough young working people in order to fund all of the old people in China's lifestyles, right? So the human population is a Ponzi, all right? Now let's talk about financial assets, all right? Guys, every single financial asset, in order for you to make money, somebody else has to buy it, okay? Somebody else has to buy it after you in order to make money. Real estate. If nobody's buying properties, if everybody in the world believes that the properties are not worth it and everybody should just rent properties and rent houses, and everybody actually believed that and nobody wanted to buy houses and there was no demand, the value of houses would go to zero. They would go to zero, all right? If everybody believed in, if nobody believed in Bitcoin, if nobody found Bitcoin useful and in demand, the value of Bitcoin would go to zero, right? Stocks, right? That people are going to say, oh, well, these are actually real companies that produce real goods and services. Yeah, that's true. But most of the stock's gains, you guys, a lot of people don't know this, but most of the stock's gains come from stock buybacks from the company themselves. On top of that, using the S&P 500 as an example, right? The S&P 500, it's like, there's like 13 companies that are propping up the entire S&P 500. Most of those companies do not make money, right? And then as all these passive inflows from mutual funds and things like this buy the S&P 500, guess who's taking out? BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. They're taking out as people are passively buying in, right? That's a Ponzi scheme, okay? The S&P 500 is a Ponzi, right? Even if they're backed by real companies, it doesn't matter. Government debt, right? What happens if people stop paying the government debt? What happens if people stop buying bonds? What happens if people stop buying T-bills? It goes to zero, you guys. All these assets, if zero people in the world believe that they were valuable and everybody sold that asset at the same time because they believed that it was terrible, the price would go to zero. All right? The price would go to zero. Conversely, if 100% of the population believes that it's very valuable, then the price skyrockets and shoots up, right? That's how this works. It's not that one is a Ponzi, one is not. Even if you guys don't want to take into account financial assets, let's just look at food, right? Let's just say everybody in the world hypothetically was, they didn't believe that eating meat was a good thing. All right. Now, that's a terrible idea. All right. We don't have to get into different types of food, but if everybody believed that, if every human in the world believed that, if every human in the world believed that meat was not valuable, all right, meat is not good for you. It's toxic. It's terrible. Whatever. All right. The value of meat would go to zero, you guys, because there's no demand for it. Okay. Value is belief, you guys. If the humans don't believe that something is valuable, then the thing is not valuable, right? Even water. If nobody believed in drinking water, right? Water is obviously something that humans need. So I'm going as far. I'm taking this to the furthest extreme, right? But hypothetically speaking, if nobody believed that drinking water is good for you, and it's better to die than to drink water, all right, then nobody would buy, or nobody would want water. Okay, this might be a little bit of a crazy concept to you guys, but it's true. This is a very true thing. All right, so that's just something to keep in mind, right? Value is belief. All right. If you have, let's say you're in a basement, right? And you create a flying car, right? You create a flying car in your basement, but nobody knows about it and you don't tell anybody about it, then it's not valuable, right? Because nobody knows that you have it. Nobody knows that it exists. All right. Why do you guys think businesses have salespeople and marketers and other things that help increase the value of their product or service, right? It's because value is belief. Businesses understand this, which is why they literally hire and pay salespeople and marketing people to go out and let people know and essentially communicate the value to people, because they understand that if they don't do that, then it's not valuable and nobody wants to pay for it. Okay. So everything is a Ponzi scheme. Everything is a Ponzi. The human population is a Ponzi. Bitcoin's a Ponzi. The S&P 500 is a Ponzi. Government bonds are a Ponzi. Real estate is a Ponzi. All of it is a Ponzi to different degrees and in different ways. Okay. If nobody buys the asset after you, then you're not going to make any money. You're going to be the last in a Ponzi, right? Now, the thing that you guys need to understand about this concept is that the first one in a Ponzi wins, the last one in a Ponzi loses, right? So if you're the first one to buy something, then it's going to be a lot more likely that you're going to do very well than if you're the last one at a Ponzi. Okay. Social Security. All right. It looks like people in their 20s and 30s right now are going to be the last in that Ponzi. It is what it is. All right. It looks like we're either not going to get our Social Security or it's not going to be worth anything. All right. And it's going to be bust by 2035. All right. Real estate. Real estate's still lucrative. People are most likely always going to want places to live and houses to live in. The problem is that everybody already bought them. Institutions are buying them. And it's to the point where it's unaffordable for most people unless they can roll profits from a more lucrative investment such as crypto into real estate. All right. You could do that. If you guys want to talk about how to flip crypto to real estate, you guys can get a coaching call with me. All right. But everything's a Ponzi, you guys. Everything is a Ponzi. It's just to different degrees. And to what? When people say Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, I mean, they're not technically wrong, okay? So if everybody believed that Bitcoin had no value, Bitcoin would go to zero. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if anybody thought that anything would go to zero, then it will. If nobody believed that something is valuable, and they actually sold all their stuff, the value of that instrument is going to go to zero. Right? Now the reason why this is an important concept, you guys, is because the first one in a Ponzi wins and the last one loses, like I said before. So what you guys want to do is you guys want to find things that not everybody already bought to where you're not the last in a Ponzi, right? You're not the last in a Ponzi. This is why I bring this up in videos a lot, that everybody already bought the properties. Everybody already bought the stocks. Everybody already bought the bonds, right? Everybody already bought all those things. So you guys want to find something that not everybody bought yet. That's how you make money in investing, because everything is a Ponzi. And you have to look at what people haven't already bought yet and something that you think, we'll use Bitcoin as an example, right? Bitcoin, I literally made a video yesterday about the problems that Bitcoin solve, okay? We talked about light and fast transactions, permissionless, right? Censorship resistance, scarcity, anti-inflation. Now, the question that you need to ask yourself is that for people, those problems, is that trend or trajectory, are those problems more likely to get bigger or worse, or bigger or smaller, right? I think all those problems are going to get bigger over time. All right. Inflation's only going to get worse. Censorship is probably going to get worse over time. Maybe not in this administration in the US, but over time, even if Trump doesn't win, someone else will come in after him and they will continue to do that censorship thing. Okay. Governments around the world are going to continue to try to control people by controlling their money. All right. Similar to the way that, the U.S. or not the U.S., the Canadian government froze the truckers' money during COVID because they didn't like what they were doing. In order to control their behaviors, they tried to freeze their bank accounts, right? Right. So something to keep in mind, all right? Everything is a Ponzi scheme, you guys. Everything's a Ponzi. I might make another video about this, talking about a little bit of a different variation of this concept, but I hope this message is clear to you guys, and I hope you guys understand this, and it might be a little bit of a mind twister for you, but all these other assets, you guys, first of all, people already bought them. Second of all, if nobody believed that they were valuable, they would go to zero. All right? They would go to zero, all of them, even if it's a company that does something. a lot of these profits and earnings ratios that these stocks come out with, that doesn't dictate the price of the stock. That's not the gains, right? Now if people can read the profits and earnings ratios and their reports, and they could see, and then if they're profitable consistently for enough period of time, then humans believe that the company is valuable, and then they buy the company, all right? But in most cases, that's not the case. A lot of people just buy the S&P 500, and those stock and the S&P is essentially, all the gains from the S&P come from like 7 stocks. They're all like they all come from like 7 stocks. So all the rest of those companies in the S&P, they're all getting basically carried by a few stocks, right? And then as all these passive flows come in through mutual funds, through pensions, through all these passive inflows of the S&P, all these financial advisors that have people buy the S&P 500, they're all buying. There's all this passive flow coming into the S&P 500, and then BlackRock and all these institutions are taking money off because they bought it first. That's a Ponzi. All right? Everything is a Ponzi scheme in the financial market if you look deep enough. If you look deep enough, you actually realize that in order for any financial asset to go up in price, somebody else needs to buy it after you. All right? And if nobody believes that something is valuable and they sell any position, the value of everything, every asset goes to zero, not just Bitcoin. Okay? So people who say that Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, they're right. However, everything is a Ponzi, and Bitcoin is a very, very useful Ponzi that's in demand, and that's going to continue to be more in demand. Okay? So I hope you guys understand this concept. All right? I hope you guys have a good day. If you guys want to get coached by me, you jump in the Telegram group and you message me privately. All right? If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Chase Your Grace, all that stuff. Short form content has been a little bit slow, working through some stuff, but it's going to be coming back very soon. Okay, coming back very soon. I got a comment or two saying that, asking me what happened to my short forms, that they were enjoying them. They're coming back, and they might even be better. Okay, so thank you guys. All right. Oh, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment what you think about this controversial topic, share the video, all that shit. Like the video, like the damn video. All right. I hope you guys have a good day. I hope this message suits you well. And I hope that you guys think about this a little bit and really understand that, and really think about this concept. Okay. And then if you guys agree, if you guys disagree, whatever, write in the comments and let me know what you think. All right. So I hope you guys have a good day. All right. Thank you. Bless up.